Hi everybody, this is Lee, and with this video I'm returning back to the Flint water crisis. There's an article at Counterpunch. It's written by Matthew Kovac from July 21st, and he's saying that it's 4 years into the Flint water crisis and that the legal system is still trying to decide how best to provide the residents of Flint with a measure of accountability, much less justice. And that he goes on to say that the Michigan Civil Rights Commission investigated the crisis as a denial of civil rights, calling for a South African style Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The ACLU is suing the state for violating Flint students' rights to education. And then just last month, the right-wing Attorney General Bill Schuett charged 5 state and city employees with involuntary manslaughter, and Kovac is speculating that he's eager to boost his run for governor. But Kovac is saying that more needs to be done and that more evidence is emerging of an official cover-up, and that there's growing recognition that what happened in Flint was not necessarily a violation of civil rights, and then not even necessarily just a violation of domestic law, that it actually rises up to a violation of international human rights law, and that it was actually a version of genocide, and that it was a crime against humanity. And that's according to filmmaker Michael Moore and then Reverend Jesse Jackson. And so Kovac goes to look at Article 2 of the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. And he's looking at the article closely and saying that possibly the Flint water crisis does rise up to fit that definition, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. And so what I'm going to do is leave a link to this article by Kovac in the description. I'm going to go to a press release that I found at the Green Party website. Jill Stein to meet with Flint residents, calling for justice and emergency action. And Jill Stein is a Harvard-trained physician. She's practiced clinical medicine for over 25 years, and she co-authored 2 books on the subject of health and toxic exposures. One was In Harm's Way, Toxic Threats to Child Development in 2000, and then Environmental Threats to Healthy Aging, and that was published in 2009. And she's been awarded for her environmental work from Clean Water Action and Toxic Action Center. And so when Jill Stein speaks on public health issues, environmental health issues, things like that, people in trouble know that the truth is being articulated about the effect on public health of these contaminants and toxins. And so apparently she met with the Wolves Den Camp on Mason Street in Flint, talking about the unmet critical needs to fix the water crisis inflicted on the citizens of Flint, Michigan. And according to this press release, that there is mounting evidence that the water crisis has had substantial harm to the children of Flint. An estimated 8,000 children were exposed to unsafe levels of lead in their drinking water. This lead exposure doubled the number of children with unsafe levels of lead in their blood. In addition, infant mortality is on the rise in Genesee County, and that's according to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. 13.8 of 1,000 children died in 2015 for a total of 43 deaths, and that this is an increase of 38% over the 2008 rate of 9.9% infant mortality. And so it's now more than double the national average of infant mortality in that region. And that one of the effects of lead on pregnant women is to cause premature birth, the main cause of infant mortality. And so the lead in the water may also be responsible for the tragic rise in infant deaths in Flint, Michigan, and that there are studies ongoing to determine that if whether or not this is the case. And so we look at what Jill Stein has noted about the effect of increased lead exposure in Flint, Michigan on the children of Flint, and then actually the speculation by Matthew Kovac that this was a type of genocide, not necessarily a civil rights issue, but actually an international human rights abuse issue, and that the government officials in Flint inflicted genocide on the people of Flint, according to that definition. And so we see that there's trouble, and it's ongoing, and it's permanent, because lead exposure is permanent, and the health effects are ongoing. And I still consider what happened to the people in Libby, Montana, and the fact that the Democratic senator from Montana fought for the people of Libby, Montana, who were exposed to asbestos. They were poisoned by asbestos, and that immediately they were rewarded with Medicare for All to assist them overcoming those health issues, those serious health concerns that asbestos poisoning and exposure bring. And so we know that an immediate response of Medicare for All is possible on a state level, because it was done for Libby, Montana. And I said state level, but actually that was city. That was a city level effort to assist the people of Libby, Montana with Medicare for All. And so that this can be done as well for the people of Flint, Michigan. We know that there are mechanics and mechanisms whereby this can be done without a lot of bureaucracy and objection and paper pushing and pulling, that the people of Flint, Michigan can and should be allowed to have Medicare for All in order to mitigate the health effects of that lead exposure. It can be done. For anyone who says that it cannot, it can, because it was done for the people of Libby, Montana. They have Medicare for All. And the people of Flint, Michigan definitely should have Medicare for All tomorrow, not next year, because we see that the children are dying today. And so the people of Flint definitely look to Libby, Montana, and pressure your senators, your government officials, and don't take no for an answer, because the answer was yes for Libby, Montana, and it should be yes for Flint, Michigan. Good luck.